Hello, and welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for June of 2023. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
And I'm Julia Mijas, and I'm in San Francisco, California.
Let's take a look at what's happening in June. Well, hello, Virgo. You know, I usually like to talk about the asteroid goddesses at this part to begin a horoscope, but today I'm going to talk about Pluto, which has very recently moved into an entirely new sign for the first time since 2008. So here's Pluto dipping his nose, just his nose, only a very little bit into your sixth house. So you might not feel this very strongly, and really it's just a hint of things to come. But I do want to let you know that Pluto is heading for your sixth house. So the sixth house, of course, is the house of work, health, service, personal organization. It's the house in which we design the systems that make life run more smoothly at home and at work. And you know that Pluto is a transformer, brings a death and rebirth experience, brings profound change, and sometimes loss and grief. And so Pluto entering into your sixth house is the signal that on the horizon is a lengthy time period of at least a decade, starting really in January of 2024, during which your work is going to become an alchemical cauldron of change for you, a place in which you feel transformed. At times you may feel like you're melting down. You're going through changes so big that you feel like an entirely different person afterwards. And it could spell very big changes in your literal job situation, or in the content of what you do for work, or how you organize yourself for it. So that's a long-term thing. It's an era, really, that you're just on the very itty-bitty beginning of. So it's really, you know, a hearkening for the future that I wanted you to let you know about today. So then a little bit deeper into the month, on the 17th, we see that Saturn, which has recently entered into your seventh house, has now gone retrograde. You see the little red RX symbol there, which means that Saturn is now retrograde. Saturn, of course, by traveling through a house, renders that house's domain to be work. It makes you work for it in whatever house Saturn is passing through. This is the domain of relationships. It's the domain of partnership. This is also a domain of fairness, balance, harmony, symmetry, beauty even, and fine design principles. So there's lots of negotiation that goes on in this house, and relating and partnership too. Saturn entering into this house suggests that you're going to go into a time period which, once it begins for you, will last about 2.5 years on average, and in which you're going to have to work on your relationships, work on being fair, work on being a great partner to your partner. And you might even feel like your relationships present some restrictions for you in your life. And you might even feel that the relationship is so limiting and is being tested so hard that it proves itself to be non-viable. And if you're married, you know, this is something to undertake with great consideration. So while Saturn is here and your relationship is being tested in the next about 2 to 2.5 years, it's going to be really important to look to your relationship and how you could strengthen it or shore it up, and maybe commit more deeply if it passes all the tests with flags flying, or be prepared to let go if it's just come to the end of its viability. So there might be some difficult decisions ahead. Now I want to talk about Juno. And Juno is traveling along through your 10th house at the beginning of the month. Juno is in the sign of Gemini. She is all about collaboration and partnership. She's a social leader. She's a matchmaker. She likes to connect you with the people that you should connect with, and also help other people around you to connect with each other if that will strengthen your own social network. And in the 10th house, she's been doing her magic in your career arena. And so this, as Juno is in the 10th house, this has been a time of making the right connections at work, spiffing up your Rolodex, your acquaintances, your colleagues, and how you're connected with them so that you can feel more socially supported and plugged in your workplace. Particularly because the 6th house, which I was speaking of before with Pluto, the 6th house is more about the everyday workplace, but the 10th house is really about the arc of the career. And so Juno is wanting you to support the overall arc of your career through who you connect with and how. Now, as the month goes on, Juno moves on into your 11th house. And I think Juno really loves to be in the 11th house. This is a very social house. And as Juno moves there, she enters the sign of Cancer, where she has a lot of warmth and a lot of domestic feeling and a lot of nurture and care, and also an ability to relate with women, particularly regardless of your own gender. And so Juno in the 11th house, where it's going to be for the rest of the month and into next month too, is going to really strengthen your ties with community and the groups that you belong to, and the people that you feel a sense of tribal alignment with, the people that give you a sense of being, belonging to a group of people of like mind, belonging to something greater than yourself. So Juno's going to do some really great stuff while she's traveling through your 11th house, and that's going to go on until mid-August. Now, Ceres starts the month in Virgo, right here in your 1st house. Now, Virgo is your sign, and whether it's your rising sign or your sun sign, Ceres passing through this sign has really been demanding that you become more embodied, that you really get into your body, be in your body, occupy your own skin, and take good care of yourself health-wise, and eat in ways that feel good to your body, and that help you to digest your food in ways that are sustainable. So Ceres really has really been working on health factors with you for several months now. So Ceres went retrograde back in February, and I talked about that in your February horoscope, and I've kind of been talking about it ever since as a financial rebalancing period, which was really powerful financially, as well as, regarding health and diet. And so the really good news is that Ceres has moved into Libra now as of June 21st, right here. And so Ceres is, having gone direct, has brought an end to all of the tangles and the snarls that happened, like financially and maybe with diet and food in the last couple of months. And she's getting ready to finish out that everything to do with that retrograde period, and is going to be performing that rebalancing in the second half of the month. And so all of that stuff is really coming to an end. In total, it usually lasts, if you include the whole span that Ceres travels through when she goes retrograde, it's more like 5 or 6 months, and everything is coming untangled. Everything is sorting itself out. The balance is coming into effect, and that's got to feel pretty good. Hi, Julia. What's up with Mercury, Venus, and Mars this month for the Virgos of the world?
Well, Virgo, you will be happy to hear that Mercury is not only direct, but moving very fast, which means things in your life are probably flowing pretty smoothly because you are Mercury ruled. So Mercury starts the month in your 9th house. This is a house of travel. This is a house of education, both things that Mercury is very fond of. So your mind could really really be on just getting out there and exploring the world. Maybe you're planning a trip, maybe you're already on a trip. It's nice to have Mercury direct when that's happening because we don't have all the retrograde snafus we're used to. And it's a great time for learning new things as well. Then by June 11th, Mercury enters your 10th house. This is a career house. It represents your public reputation. And this is actually a lovely time for any public speaking. If you do anything on social media, if you give presentations at work, if you have to impress an audience with your mind, maybe talk in a recovery program, you can really get your point across with Mercury in the 10th. And it's also time where you might be very preoccupied with your career in general, because that's what the 10th represents, or your life direction. Now, the final house Mercury is going to be in this month is the 11th, when it shifts in there on the 26th. This is a house of friendship. It is a house, it's a very social house. And Mercury is a planet that loves to make a lot of social connections. This house also represents your long-term goals in life. So for the rest of the month, you might be contemplating those future goals of yours, those dreams that take some time to realize. And you might find that you're connecting a lot more with friends or any groups you're a part of. Now, one final thing I'd like to say about Mercury is on the 30th, it's going to directly conjoin the sun. And we call this Greater Epiphany Day because Mercury is direct versus Lesser Epiphany when it's retrograde and conjoins the sun. In either event, this is a very important day to keep track of because you might find that you have some epiphanies in your life, some insights and revelations. And this might include 11th house matters for you. So it could be about a future dream, hope, wish, and goal that you have, how you can get even closer to achieving it. Or you might have some epiphanies around your friends and also groups you're a part of too. So at the end of the month, keep track of those ideas because they might be very important. Now, I have two more planets to talk about. I'll start with the more challenging one first, and that's Mars. Mars is the planet of action and activity, but wherever we have Mars, we can also get a bit frustrated. We can also run into conflict, and Mars is going to be in your 12th house all month. So the 12th house is a very hidden place. So with Mars in the 12th, you might find that you are most active when you're on your own, if you have to do work, let's say you want to do an exercise routine, you might be more willing to sort of be away from other people, the eyes of other people, while you do whatever work or activity you want to do. This can be a great transit for maybe going for a hike by yourself, being out in the wilderness. The 12th represents places of isolations. This could also be a great transit if you want to go on any retreats of any kind, whether it's a meditation retreat or some other type of retreat too, which are also represented by the 12th. Now, just be very cautious about not acting behind people's backs. That's the one big caution with Mars in the 12th during this transit, because if people do find out, they might get kind of upset and frustrated, especially if you've been a little bit indirect or a little bit deceptive with your actions, which can also be associated with the 12th house. So try to be as upfront and above board as you can, and you can definitely steer clear of some of the more negative attributes of this placement and try to work on some of the more positive ones. Now, finally, Venus, everyone's favorite. She represents love and pleasure and beauty, and who doesn't want more of that in their life? She's going to begin in your 11th house, but she's only there for about 5 days. Again, this is a very social house. Venus in here means you'll be connecting a lot more with friends, that you might even find more pleasure in your social groups. Maybe you get benefited by a friend in some way. This would be a great time if you're single to ask a friend to set you up with somebody. And I also think Venus in the 11th can be good for online dating as well, because the 11th house is networks. But by the 5th, Venus enters the 12th, where Mars is going to be. So Venus in the 12th, that means that you're going to be having a lot more pleasure on your own. Like if you can find some activities this month, whether you go on a hike on your own, or maybe you do some spiritual exploration, some yoga, some meditation, or dream exploration on your own, this would be a fabulous month for all of that type of stuff with both Mars and Venus in here. And if you have a relationship, you might want to be far away from the world with your partner. Invite them on that hiking trip, especially now that Venus is in here with Mars. You can get out a lot of physical energy, but also maybe bring your relationship into it as well. With Venus in the 12th, you might have to really be there for your partner in some way too. If they're going through a hard time this month, then you can really, really be of service to them in a way that makes your relationship stronger. That's definitely the beauty of Venus in the 12th. Yeah, and what else have you been seeing this month for us, Jamie?
Hey, Jamie here. Did you know we run live workshops monthly where you can get questions answered about your own chart? Join us for a live customized reading of your personal chart. This month's topics are success and your Saturn return, transiting nodes and your destiny, and harvesting opportunities during your Jupiter luck year. And these workshops are available exclusively for our beloved Patreon subscribers. You get the Nodes and Destiny workshop with your Tier 2 subscription, and you get all 3 workshops with your Tier 3 subscription. It's easy to sign up at the Patreon link in the description below. Now let's get back to the video. Well, let's take a look at these moons. I'm seeing on June 3rd that there's a full moon in Sagittarius. We're calling this one Nerdy Adventures. It puts the moon in Sagittarius right here in your 4th house. Opposite the sun in Gemini in your 10th house. So this activates the 4th house, 10th house axis, the 4th house being your inner life and home and family. And then the 10th house is your outer world, career, authority, and reputation. So the sun is lighting that area up, and I'll say a little bit more about that shortly. But the moon, it's funny. It's almost I don't know, a contradiction, because the moon is in Sagittarius, which is very adventurous, but here it is traveling through your 4th house, which is very like homebody like. And so I think that these adventures might be inner world adventures, and then the sun pulling in its nerdy direction, being in Gemini, is going to pull you towards career and thinking and planning and strategizing your next career move or how you're going to approach your next goal. So there's a balancing act going on here, and that moon wants you to have adventures and to feel expanded in your home as a balancer for all of the mental energy that you might be expending in your career. So I said we're calling this one Nerdy Adventures, and it has a lot of harmony in it. There's wonderful harmony with Pallas Athena and Mars right over here, forming trines to the moon and sextiles to the sun, and also Chiron over here doing the same, sextile the sun, trine to the moon. And so this moon, we kind of developed a really fun little story about like the nerd versus the jock for this moon. But there's so much harmony in it that it really doesn't have to involve a lot of conflict. And with a judicious use of honesty, directness, and right action, you should be able to navigate this moon quite smoothly and successfully. You can find out more about this moon on our website, pandoraastrology.com, in the forecast tab, where you'll find the video for this moon and also this month's other moon, which I'm going to talk about right now. That one is coming on June 17th. And it's the new moon of the month. It's a new moon in Gemini, which falls right here in your 10th house. And this is the point in the month where we see that even though the month started with a very large grouping in Taurus, lighting up your 9th house, that a lot of things have moved on into your 10th house, bringing the arena of career very much to the front of your mind and the front of your conscious awareness. So it's really, really good to plant seeds and to start things like have new beginnings when we have a new moon. And this landing in your 10th house suggests that this is a really good time for the planting of seeds in the career arena. And I want to say that seeds are planted in darkness. They're planted in the ground. We don't see them germinate. We water them and hope that they will spring forth, as something living with its own life path. And every moon brings the opportunity, every new moon brings the opportunity for that, but we don't see results right away. And we just have to accept that. So this moon is really great for planting seeds and you won't see results right away, but you should be planting them in your career arena. And those should be idea seeds. We're calling this moon New Ideas Dream Tested. And the reason for the dream part is that there is a Neptune square to this moon. And the reason for the tested part is that Ceres, opposite Neptune, squares this moon in the form of a big T square in the sky. So Ceres, very practical, Earth planet in an earthy sign, Virgo, wants to make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed and that things are as close to perfect as they can be. And so Ceres will be testing those ideas for their own viability in a practical sense, and hoping that they're as perfect as they can be. And meanwhile, Neptune, opposite that Ceres, has turned on the dream factory and is just churning out dreams and visions and imaginings of how things could be, but without any sense of what is practical and what can actually be done. And that's Ceres' job. So that's why these two are in an opposition. And so the ideas that come forth are going to be touched by imagination and also pragmatism. And those seed ideas are the ones that you should be planting. And more about that in the video on the forecast page on our website, pandoraastrology.com. So the sun is traveling along through the 10th house at the beginning of this month, bringing the light of consciousness to the arena of career in the ways that I've been describing relative to these moons. The sun always brings the light of consciousness, and it's generally a good idea to pay attention, shed your own personal sunlight of consciousness into whatever area the sun is traveling through in your chart. So at the beginning of the month, your attention should be on your career, but as the month goes on and the sun moves on into the sign of Cancer and your 11th house, it's good to bring your attention to community, to acquaintances, to friends and networks, the people that you feel a sense of belonging with, your tribe, if you will. And to bring your most nurturing, warm, and caring attention too, because the sun is moving into Cancer as it approaches your 11th house. And so the sun will spend about 30 days passing through your 11th house. That's completely normal. And every year it does this. And so you get 30 days, silly window, you get 30 days to really shed sunlight on your friendships, cultivate them, let them to grow and expand, build up your friends' pride and self-confidence, build up confidence in the friendship itself, and really show up as a leader in the communities that you're a part of, especially the ones that you feel support you the best. And that's a great way to spend the 30 days that the sun is passing along through your 11th house.
Well, that's all we have for you today. If you love Pandora Astrology's free and informative horoscopes, then please do hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and share our horoscopes with your friends.
You can find out so much more about how this month's transits affect you in very personal timing in our monthly transits workshop for Tier 2 patrons on Patreon. And it's practically free at $15 a month. Find the link in the description below to sign up. Enjoy this beautiful springtime. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos.
Bye-bye.